And now, for the week of September 4th, Adobe Photoshop TV is on the air.
Welcome to Adobe Photoshop TV from the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And here's your hosts, the Photoshop guys, Scott Kelby, Dave Cross, and Matt Klaskowski.
Welcome, everyone, to another glacial week of Adobe Photoshop TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, the fine people who bring you Photoshop User Magazine, the greatest magazine in the history of paper. Hi.
This week's episode is brought to you by Logitech, DLO, CDW, and iStockPhoto.com.
And for the first time ever, we have a brand new sponsor we're very excited about. Can you
What are
believe?
they thinking?
I know, what are they thinking? But I like them a lot. The Art Institute Online. Go check them out at aiartdegree.com. They're our brand new sponsor. If you're into design, if you're into multimedia, if you're into things that move, if you're into things that don't move, if you're into anything creative, go check them out. aiartdegree.com. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Scott Kelby, and joining me, as always, from the cold, freezing tundra of Canada, Mr. Dave Cross.
Yes, because it is very cold at this time of year in Canada.
Yes, August, brr. And back again with us after a 2-week vacation in the Bahamas.
No.
Hard
I
work,
only wish.
hard at work, rocking the house key. It's Mr. Matt Klaskowski.
It's good to be back.
Well, it's good to have the three hombres back together. Hey, we are very excited. This week we have a trashy show for you. We've got some tutorials. We have a good show. We have some really cool stuff this week. We got some really cool stuff. We've got some great prizes and stuff. And, of course, it is the week before Photoshop World. Actually,
it's the
it's
week
the week
of.
of Photoshop
Right,
World, isn't it?
yeah.
It's the week of Photoshop World. So in just a few days, we'll be actually in Las Vegas. You will be able to, if you're going to Photoshop World, I have a tip. You'll be able to find Matt in the Mandalay Bay at the craps table at about, what's it, about 10 o'clock at night usually?
Really, anytime that I don't have a class.
And before, and sometime between 10 and 1 a.m., you'll find it at the In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah.
That's kind of over behind Caesars off Flamingo Road. Anyway, hey, we're back. We've got all kinds of wild stuff. Hey, one thing I do want to tell you about Photoshop World that's kind of cool is Adobe will be there. Of course, they do the keynote speech. And traditionally, Adobe uses Photoshop as a platform to show some emerging technology. And they will be giving a sneak peek of some emerging technology. What does this mean? I do not know. 2 bunnies, it will be 2 rabbits. No, they're showing some emerging technology. So we're very excited to have them there. So if you're at the keynote, you're going to get to see stuff that no one else has seen.
Very cool.
Emerging.
It's very sceney. Hey, we've got tips. You brought tips this week?
I did. I brought a tip. Now, due to the popularity of the Steam tutorial
the
a couple
Steam.
of
Yeah, well,
weeks
you just
ago,
came back from the Steam conference, right?
I did come back from the Steam conference, so I thought, what better to do than Steam? Actually, no, I'm not going to do Steam, but I am going to do a tutorial on placing smoke onto somebody.
Because that's so different
Oh,
than
that's
Steam.
way different
So,
than
and,
Steam.
and I've got a picture of a woman holding something, a cigarette, but there's no smoke coming out of it.
Yeah, that's
so-
Perfect.
no. Okay.
I know, I have a tutorial. My tutorial this week is on using the animation palette.
Oh,
in
you were
Photoshop.
lying?
I was
Oh,
lying.
I thought you
To
were
make
serious.
animated Steam?
No animated Steam. We're going to create
okay.
a very cool little animation here that I stole from a website.
Excellent. Dave, you brought some cool stuff?
Well, jury's out as to whether it's actually cool or not, but I have a technique to actually let you use a kind of a hidden filter, the 3D transform filter, to make kind of an interesting cube effect on a photo.
Interesting. And I have a technique that I will do for you right now because, well, I'm first this week. Okay, my technique is based on I have a lot of people ask me this question. I have people say, Scott, how do you know which photo that you've taken is going to look good as a black and white? Like, what's the technique? What's the secret? There isn't really a secret, but I can show you a couple of different techniques that will help you really quickly determine which photos will look good in black and white. So, that being said, let's do that.
Said.
Here we go. We're in the Adobe Bridge here, and here's some photos from a shoot. Now, how do I know which one of these are going to look good in black and white? There's a couple of different ways. The first way is actually the shorter way, but some people may prefer this. And that is, basically, we're going to click on one photo and then press Command-A to select all the photos. So all the photos have been selected. These are all raw photos, so this particular technique will only work if you're shooting in RAW. So let's press Command R on a Mac, or if you have a PC, it would be Control R to bring up Camera Raw. And this is the Bridges version of Camera Raw. And there it is right now. So you can see we have all the photos selected over here. Here is the trick. How do I know which of these photos from this shoot are going to look good in black and white? Well, hit the Select All button and do two things. Go over here to the saturation slider, drag it all the way to the left. And then take the contrast slider and drag it almost all the way to the right. That'll give you an idea of when you go and actually tweak your photos, how they're going to look. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do this to actually convert a photo to black and white.
That's just a preview, really.
That's just a preview, because running the contrast up to 100 usually will not.
Oh, that's what I do every day.
That's what Matt does. Then you can just toggle through here real quickly and see which of these photos actually would look good as a black and white photo. So as you click through here, you can see different ones and decide quickly which one would make a good black and white. So that's one way to do it if you are actually, notice I'm changing the photos, but the photo wasn't changing very much. So you can and then we'll just hit. Now, the key is, if you decide which one you want to do, just click on that photo and just open that one image. If you don't think any of them look good, make sure you hit cancel, because if you hit done, all of these photos will be converted to black and white.
Don't want that.
I mean, it's not permanent because, of course, we're in Camera Raw. But instead, so you're either going to do one of two things. You're going to find the one that looks good in black and white and hit open. It's not that one. Hit open one image, or you're going to hit cancel. The second technique, okay, there we go. The second technique is this, and this will work if you're working with JPEG images or any kind of other images in the bridge. And this one's a little trickier, but it works very well. And it's very fast. Is you're going to, well, if you have a monitor that you can convert to black and white, just change your monitor to black and white. Now, Matt couldn't do his laptop. I can't do my laptop. They'll go to 256 colors, but they won't go to full grayscale. So instead, here's what you do. We're going to make a screen capture of what we see here. On a Macintosh, you can press Shift Command 4, and that changes your cursor into a little, what you call
thingy.
it? A thingy.
Yeah.
That makes screen captures, and then you
capture
just
thingy.
right, and it makes a screen capture, and then you just now when you do that on a Macintosh, it puts a little picture on your desktop called Picture One. All right, on a PC you would do Alt Print Screen, and it copies the information into memory. Then you just go to Photoshop and hit a new document and paste it in. So what we're looking at here is not the bridge. We are in Photoshop, as you can see up here, and this is a screen capture of my screen. So then all you do is just go Image, Adjustments, and choose Desaturate. It removes the color, and you can instantly see all your photos at once and see if any of these would make a good black and white photo. Now, if you have a whole bunch of photos, it may take you 3 or 4 screen captures. So what you would do is you'd make this first screen capture, check it out, and if it didn't work, you would just close it. Then, am I clicking on the wrong place?
Clicking on
Oh,
the
I am.
picture of the title bar.
Okay. Don't click on the fake toolbar. Click on the real one. There. Why is this not working? I don't get it. Okay, and click right there. Sorry, I shouldn't drink before the show. Okay, then what you would do is you would scroll down. Just scroll down further and take another screen capture, another one. So anyway, there are 2 techniques for answering that question. How do you find out if one of your Photoshop photos is going to look good in black and white? Try it in black and white, and you'll get a quick look.
Cool.
All right.
Cool. I like that screen capture one.
Thank you,
Good
Matt.
idea.
Why, thank you, young Matt. I appreciate that. Matt approves.
Let it be aired.
Great to have you back. All right, stick around. We'll be right back with more Adobe Photoshop TV right here on the Adobe Photoshop TV network.
Use your artistic energy. Heighten your creative potential. The Art Institute Online offers career-oriented programs for imaginative people just like you. People determined to learn what it takes to begin a career in the creative arts. Have the freedom to decide when and where to attend class. Call now and start your future today.
We are back. I'm Scott Kelby with Dave Cross and Matt Kloskowski, the 2 mute Photoshop guys. Hey, it's Matt time. Matt's got a tip for us.
Love Matt time.
That does not include any vapors, any steam, any smoke, or any atmospheric effects whatsoever.
No atmospheric
Hey, before
effects happening.
before he does his tip, you've got a gig coming up in Maui. Poor Matt, he has to go to Maui.
Not
Oh,
looking forward to
man.
it.
All
3
right.
days of steam.
Oh yeah, it's the Steam Conference, Maui style, right?
Yeah.
No, you're going to be at the School of Visual Arts in
I am.
Maui, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be there with Randy Hufford, and I'm doing a Photoshop 101 class. So it's a 3-day introduction to Photoshop, and we are going to do everything you can think of
In 3 days.
in 3 days.
In
'cause
Maui.
It's an intro class, but I'm going to put them through the through the ringer.
Oh, I know that you will. Hey, go check it out. Where can they find out more?
Go to visualimpact.org. You can find a class outline and all that stuff. So if you're in Hawaii or you're thinking of going to Hawaii, please.
If you need an excuse to go to Maui,
Yes.
and want to do it on some kind of a business basis,
Come join me. It'll be very, very cool.
And do you know the dates? In
November 9th to the 11th.
9th through 11th.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a chance to do a class over at the Institute with Randy, and it was just great. Randy's got a great facility. It's a real working studio. It's not just a little classroom. You know, it's the real deal. And if you go, you'll have a great time. And Matt will be there, so he will ensure that you have a great time.
We will do lots of fun things.
All right, let's see your tutorial this
All right.
week.
So my tutorial. Well, I figure I'm going to start out this way, and that way it just can't get any worse.
Yeah, you don't
than
have to
this.
worry about accidentally zooming
So
on
now
it.
I
Good.
will zoom
Good.
out.
There we go.
And then,
well done.
What I am now doing, for those of you that can't see me right now, is I am now moving my chair around the table.
So we can't comment on
So
it?
nobody can
He
see
can't
what
look
I'm
over
doing
his
here.
shoulder.
All right.
Oh, man.
Now, what we're going to do is a lot of people don't know you can create animations right inside of Get Away. Don't stand up. A lot of people don't know you can create animations right in
Our mics
Photoshop.
are wireless.
So what I did is I stole an animation from the Microsoft Pro digital photography site. I didn't steal it. I stole the idea from it. I thought it looked really cool, and I wanted to recreate it here. So we start off with any picture of a person. Now, I've already selected this. Scott's turning his laptop away from me. He's going to start IMing me now, I think. So what you do is you've got to select the person. You need the person removed from their background. I already did that because, well, you don't want to see me do it here. So I'm going to take my Move tool and drag them into some type of a scenic background here. All right.
Oh, we're messing with him. We're not even seeing the screen.
And then once I drag it in, you can see it's too big. So I'm just going to go into Free Transform and make it a little bit smaller here. And we'll put it off toward the bottom left here. I'm not looking at the man in front of me. Now, we've got the basics of what we want to do here set up. Now, we just need to create animation frames. So we're going to name this layer. I'll name it Woman Sharp. And you'll see why in a second. I'm going to duplicate that layer by pressing Control-J, Command-J on the Mac. I'm going to name it Woman Blurry. Now, let's do the same thing for our background picture here. I'm going to duplicate this layer. And one of the things you see here, see how the background layer is locked? I'm just going to Alt double click or Option double click on it, and it turns it into a regular layer. And then I'll call it Background Sharp, and then I will call this one Background Blurry. So now we've got 4 layers here, and you can guess by the names what I'm going to do with them. So let's just group them all together here. And I'm going to take the background blurry layer, and I'm going to blur it. So let's go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and hit it with a very, very high Gaussian blur. Stop
How's that
looking at my
coming,
screen. Hit it with a very high Gaussian blur, and then take that woman blurry layer and do the same thing. Just press Control F or Command F on a Mac, and that blurs her. And now we've got the sharp version on top. So we've got all the layers intact. Now let's go to the Window menu, and you can see here, and this was new in CS2, they put the animation palette into Photoshop. It's not only an image ready. So now we just start building our animation frames. So the way this works is this is the very first frame of the document. Now I don't want it to show anything, so let's just add a layer below it all, and we'll make that one white. And then I'm going to hide all the other layers. So you see that's the very first frame in the animation. And then just click to add a new animation frame. And now let's show the blurry woman. Just turn the eyeball icon, and you can see here it shows. They're messing with me. You can see here it shows the blurry woman. Now we'll add another animation frame.
Blurry woman.
And we're going to add in the sharp background to it. And then we will add one more. And what we're going to do with this last one is just reverse here. So now the woman is blurry. I want her to be sharp. And I want the background to be blurry. And then what we do is we're going to use a function called tweening, and we're going to put all these together into an animation. But there's one more little thing. See this group I have over here? It's got some text in it. That's going to roll in at the end. So click on your third frame and show your type group here. You can put any text in here. You could see all I've got is a type layer. And I'm going to show that group, and I'm going to drop the opacity all the way down. And then on the fourth frame, I'll show that group, and I'll move it over to the left a little bit here, and I'll leave the opacity at 100. So let's look at our frames. We're going to start off blank at white. Then we're going to move to a nice animation of seeing the woman, and then we'll show the woman over the sharp background, and then we'll end up with the woman in focus, the background's blurry, and we'll have our type. And the rest is actually, it's a lot easier than you think. You click on the first frame here, and then you shift-click on the second one. There's a little icon down here. It's called tween. Now, if you don't know anything about animation, tweening makes no sense to you whatsoever, but tweening just means in between. And it's something that animators use to add all these in-between frames and things so they don't have to do all the work. So I'm going to add 8 frames, and watch what happens when I click OK.
Wow,
take a look at all
it
these
adds
frames.
8 frames.
It adds 8 frames in there, and it goes from the blank white document to the one where I have the woman inside of it. So it added all these frames in between here. So now let's click on that very last one and then shift-click here on 11, and we'll add another tween. And then we will do the same thing once again and add one more tween between those, in a tween between. And then we'll do one more. And the last two, take a look. We've got our last 2 frames here. Add our little in-between. So now we've got lots of different animation layers in here. And it doesn't matter. You don't need to worry about it because Photoshop animates through all those for you. So now all we want to do here is just kind of pause it in a few places. So the animation's going to run. It's going to start at frame 1. And once the woman is in focus, I want to stop it. So I'm just going to click that little arrow, and we'll stop it for about a half of a second.
She's in focus there?
Oh, not in focus. Once she comes into the picture.
I'm glad I walked over here.
Thank you. And then once we get the background into the picture here, we'll stop that for a half a second. And then we'll go on and we'll click through here, and you can see where our type starts to come in. And we'll just stop it. Let's go through. Hold on. Oh. We'll go through, and we'll stop it all the way at the end of our animation here. I'm just going to pause it for 2 seconds there. So if you want to preview it, there's a little play button at the bottom here. And just move your cursor down to that first frame of the animation. Hit play. You can see here it stops, brings the background in, and then brings our type into it.
Hey, that's cool.
Now we have a little animation effect here, but there's one more thing we got to show you. If I were to save this out, you would think I would save it as an animated GIF file. The problem is, if you want it to look really, really bad, then save it as an animated GIF because it's a photo. It's not going to look good as a GIF file. So what you do here is at the bottom of the toolbox, see we can jump over into Image Ready. So I'm going to jump into Image Ready, and it imports everything that I just did in Photoshop. Once I'm in Image Ready, I can go down to File, Export, and I can export it as a Macromedia Flash document. And just keep all the default settings here, hit OK, and it creates an HTML page, creates the Swift file for you. You can see it right here. And now you can put that into your website, and it looks a lot smoother. It'll be smaller in file size. And, hold on, let me show them one more time here. Let's look at the final product. Hide all this stuff. Here we go. And let's go hit play. And there we go. So now you have a nice little Photoshop animation done in Photoshop and Image Ready. Now, at the expense of you guys walking around and doing little bunny ears behind my laptop and all that stuff.
Matt, I can't never do that.
No.
Hey, no, I do want to add something to that.
Sure.
And that
Can
is
I move
just,
back over here?
Absolutely. Please come back. A lot of people don't realize that when you install Photoshop CS or CS2, Image Ready comes with it. It is a separate program. It's already on your drive. So if you're thinking, oh, I can't do that, I didn't buy Image Ready. Yes, you did. You bought it. It's built right in there. So check that out. So that's image ready. It's on your drive, and I have to say, Mr. Kloskowski, that was actually very good. Even though we were teasing you, it's not like us to do that, but we did on this one rare occasion. Hey, so thank you, Matt.
You're welcome, Scott.
It was very nicely done. It was very animated. He was very animated. I don't know if you noticed.
Next time I will be putting myself into a cube and doing my tutorial.
A cone of silence. Hey, one thing here. We have a tutorial from Dave real quick. I just want to mention, you heard me talk about my digital photography book that was coming out.
Never.
Well, good news. It's out. Actually, we're going to have the first copies at Photoshop World. But if you pre-ordered it, and we had like a record-breaking number of pre-orders for this, we already got the books in-house. They're in the mail to you right as we speak. So
wait, they're knocking on your door right now.
They're knocking.
Scott, is there any?
Get the door. It's Domino's.
Is there any Steam in there?
There is a Steam tutorial. No. Hey, I just got to tell you though, this is not a Photoshop book. It is a book about digital photography. It is not a book for pros. Okay, it's not a book for pro photographers. It is a book for everybody else. So if you want to take better pictures, see, if you're a pro, I think you're probably pretty happy with your pictures. But if you're not happy with your pictures, if you bought that 3-megapixel camera, you weren't happy, so you bought an 8-megapixel digital SLR, and you're still not happy, this is for you. All right, Mr. Cross, what do you have for us? Oh, we know we have some cool 3D blocky thing.
3D blocking. Yeah, exactly. That's the official name of it, the 3D blocking.
Will you be using the animation palette or image ready anytime during this?
I could, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
No. What I am going to use, though, is a filter called 3D Transform. Now, if you go under your filter menu and look under Render, the chances are that it doesn't say 3D Transform, because in the last couple of versions of Photoshop, it's no longer installed by default, but it is in the original CD that comes with Photoshop in a folder called Goodies. So you can just drag it into the plugins folder, and then you'll have this lovely, lovely filter. And you can do some pretty interesting things with it.
You have to restart Photoshop, though.
Yes, you would have to do that, certainly. So I have this photo I'm going to use. I'm just going to make a new layer because I want the results of my 3D transform to be on this separate layer. So I'm going to go to the Render menu under Filter, and 3D Transform brings up this own separate little interface. And I'm going to add a cube shape to it. So I'm just going to click on this strangely enough looking cube tool and basically click and drag kind of the basic shape. Now I'm going to tell you in advance, the first couple times you use this, the chances are it's not going to end up looking the way you want. So be prepared that you may have to do some work after the fact. They're all moving their laptops around and trying to distract me, and I'm just going to ignore them. So basically all I'm really looking for, I want to make sure I have enough contrast between the three sides that I can see them. So even though it's not exactly straight, that's okay, because I really want to make sure I get that contrast that I want. So I just click OK to that, and because I have a new layer, put it on its own layer. So now I can use Free Transform to kind of get it back to the way I want in terms of straight, and I'm also going to scale it down just a little bit because I don't want it quite so large. And that's it, a gray cube in the middle of a photo.
That's awesome. That's art,
no,
man.
We get requests for that every single
I know.
day.
If you want to stop right there, you're certainly welcome to. But I'm going to continue, because what I really want to do is I'm going to go click back on my background layer, and I'm going to select a little portion of the original photo here. Press Command or Control J to pop it up on a layer by itself. I'm going to move it above the, that was the sound effect when you press Command or Control J on your machine. It might not do that, but. So I've put it on a layer above the cube. I'm lowering the opacity so I can see it. Let me hide the background layer so it's easier to see what's going on. And I'm going to press Command or Control T again for free transfer, but this time always holding down the Command key on the Mac or Control on Windows, so I can basically skew this to fit aside. And as you can see, because I've lowered the opacity, it's a little easier to see the corners of this cube. Now in CS2, you can actually lower the opacity once you're already in free transform, just in case you forgot to do that. So this is the effect we're kind of going to go for, is sort of try and make it look like the sides of the cube are, I don't know how you'd even describe it. It's going to do a weird, interesting thing compared to the original photo.
It's beyond description.
It's beyond description, but I think you'll get the idea once we're finished. So I'm just going to repeat that, go back to the background layer, pop it up, thank you, onto its own layer.
I like that, Matt. It's very nice.
Hide the background layer, lower this opacity a little bit so I can see what I'm doing, free transform, and then do the same thing with the Command or Control key. So this is the repetitive part of the tutorial where you must go in and do this. But again, as you can see, having that lower opacity just makes it a whole lot easier to see what you're doing. Make it line up like so. Put it back to 100%. And one more time, just got to get my background layer back and pick part of the sky. You notice I'm not even worrying about trying to make a perfect square selection because, of course, it's not even close. Oh, sorry, I forgot to pop it up. Thank you. That was my bad. Didn't even mention it, but Matt knew what was happening, so he
makes the sound
he makes
for
the
you.
sound regardless. So last one, do the same thing. Do my little free transform thing. Now this one's a little trickier because it's not really matching up with the sky, but anyway, you'll see the basic idea. Like that, back to 100%. Okay, so now I'm going to hide our original cube because it's not matching very well. And actually, I don't want to hide it quite yet because there is one more thing I want to do. Let's hide these for a moment. So I'm going to take my magic wand and just click. Oh, that was nice. Make sure you're on the cube layer. Click on the top of the cube, and we're going to pop that up onto its own layer. Oh, it popped twice. Drag it below and pull it down, and we're going to fill that with black. Now, I'm on a transparent layer, so I want to make sure just the little strange shape fills the black, so I'm pressing Option-Shift or Alt, excuse me, Option-Shift-Delete or Alt-Shift Backspace just to fill just that. And I'm going to give that a pretty heavy blur and maybe knock the opacity down a little bit so we get kind of a floating cube effect. And then let's bring our other pieces back and hide our original cube. And we get very strange floating cube in the middle of the desert. I'm not quite sure
I like
why.
it though. It's
but
strange and
it has
floating.
some interesting. Now, here's the thing that once you've done this basic idea, I'm going to hide these two bottom layers. Click on the top layer and use a lovely little keyboard shortcut, Command-Option-Shift-E or Control-Alt-Shift-E, and that's going to make another version of the cube up top. So now I can start experimenting because I saw this and I thought, oh, that's kind of okay, but what if I wanted to do something a little more unusual? So I just decided, hey, there's not enough times in Photoshop where we can use the plastic wrap filter. Wouldn't you agree?
You know, I would absolutely agree.
There are times where you just want to be able to do that. So let's go crazy here and just add some heavy-duty plastic wrap filter on our cube. This is, remember, a copy of the cube. Lower the opacity a little bit, and all of a sudden we get floating ice cube in the middle of the sky kind of thing.
Now I see.
Now you see. And just to show you that that's not all you can do, I use the same basic principle to also make just a photo cube with 3 different photos of someone. So there's lots and lots of possibilities once you start playing with the lovely 3D transform filter.
We can animate it.
You could animate. You could, if you had too much time on your hands, you could make it spin and jump and get blurry and sharp and
Animate
all those things.
Smoking.
And look, I'm just sitting here, and there's like this repeating animation that goes on and on forever.
Matt has his animation full screen.
He's so proud of it. It's just
going
going
and
in a loop.
going.
So I think at this point, it would be a good idea for us to take a little break and see the Photoshop
Oh, no,
news.
let's
don't
keep
you
going.
think?
Yes, we'd like to take a few moments to step out of the studio and begin sobbing. And once we pull ourselves back together, we'll be back right after this message from our fine, fine sponsors. We'll be right back right here on Adobe Photoshop TV. Alrighty, we are back and standing by right now over in the Ernesto Storm Team News Center where the latest Photoshop news is Matt Kloskowski. We're going to head over there right now where Matt is standing by to give you the latest Photoshop news. So we're going right there right now.
Sponsored by Peach Pit Press. Make sure you stop by peachpit.com/Photoshop TV because they've got a discount, 35% discount for you and free shipping inside the US. So not only is it a sponsor, but again, you get free stuff from them. So go check it out, peachpit.com. First up this week, we've got Photoshop 9.02 update for Windows is available on adobe.com. Now, according to the Photoshop product manager, John Knack, the update fixes a handful of issues that weren't caught in, you got it, update 9.01. So go check out more at adobe.com, and a Macintosh update is coming very soon. Also, Canon has announced a brand new XTI Rebel digital camera. The camera features a 10.1 megapixel resolution, a new sensor, a larger 2.5-inch display screen. So you can go find out more at canon.com. Next, Taz Talley is teaching a brand new InDesign seminar sponsored by the NAPP, and he will be in Boston on September 18th. Now, if Photoshop is more of what you're interested in learning and InDesign is not, then you want to check out our very own Dave Cross. Dave will be at the Photoshop CS2 Power Tour, Kansas City, September 22nd. Deke McClelland is in St. Louis on the 25th. And NAP members, as always, save $10 on registration. So go find out more at photoshopseminars.com. Finally, Epson has released 3 new printers. There's the Epson R260, R380, and R580. Now, all these printers have newly designed ink and print heads, deliver fast photo print speeds, and all kinds of cool printer stuff, basically. So if you want to find out more and pricing, just go visit Epson.com. Well, that's it for the news this week. Back to the studio for more Adobe Photoshop TV.
All right, thank you, Matt, for that live report. Thank you, Matt, for that live report.
Well, you're welcome.
All righty, we are back, and it's contest time. You know, we have contests each week where people win fabulous prizes. We're going to talk about the next fabulous prizes, the next list of fabulous things coming up. But first, we're going to look at who won last week's contest. Dave, who won last week's contest?
I have no idea, but I'm sure any moment now, this person will be announced as the winner. And they won because they correctly answered the question, the fill-in-the-blank question, which was, what word is missing from this dialog box? And the correct word was empty.
The empty dialog box.
No, it's not the empty dialog box. That was the missing word from the dialog box.
That empties the water where the steam would normally be.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent. All right.
So, we have prizes, I imagine.
had to get
since
a
we
steam.
knew that.
We have prizes from this week's show. And I had to get a steam.
You had to get a steam
All right.
jab in there.
All right, this week, if you correctly answer the question that Dave will reveal in just a moment, you will win one of 4. No, you'll win 4 prizes, not one of 4. You'll win all 4 in a giant bucket. First, the fabulous DVD, The Best of Photoshop TV. That's it right here. The best. It is a DVD of
shaking.
stuff. The camera guys love when I
They
do this.
love it.
So it's this one right here. You'll be getting that right here. Next is, you want a copy of my new book? This one right here. And yeah, you'll win this book right here. And this Illustrator newsletter. And a 1-year membership to the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. The fine people who bring you Photoshop User magazine. You'll also get a subscription to Photoshop User. You get all of that. This, and this. Woo! If you answer this question correctly.
I'm overwhelmed.
Somehow I see
and a
a
little
cat meow
frightened.
coming in. Call me crazy, but there might be one there.
Focus. Question.
Okay.
This dialog box that you will see now appears when, and you can't just say when you paste because that's
can't say
too
when
obvious.
when you're
you
using
have to be
Photoshop.
more specific. So when does this dialog box appear? And you must answer very specifically. And you send your answer to Photoshop TV. Actually, go to photoshoptv.com. Look for the link to enter. You can enter once.
Just
and
look for it.
Just look for it. Don't actually enter. Just look for it. If you can't find it, click on it anyway and just enter the contest and enter once. And I hope you win. I really, really do.
He really does because Dave cares. Oh, by the way, the answer to that question is it happens Thursdays at 3:32 in the afternoon. So, okay. Well, we like to end each episode by losing a sponsor. And
We've successfully done that this show.
done that every show. And oh, the Poor Art Institute Online, they're our brand new sponsor, and they're watching this right now going, oh, what have we done? What have we done? So
They need to go there to learn the things that we
Yes.
did not.
in desperate hopes of keeping them another week, go visit their website, aiartdegree.com. Visit it. Tell people you don't even know to visit it. Pull people off the street, send them to that website, say, get some good learning online. Okay. Now, each week we give you 3 things to keep you occupied in your cells between now and next week's show. Oh, by the way, next week's show is live from Photoshop World.
It
Live,
is.
so
It'll be even
it'll
worse
be
than this one.
tightly scripted. at Photoshop World. So
Can I give my 3 things?
you give one thing. Don't give 3. You give one. Here's one thing.
My first thing to do is last week I got to go see Monty Zucker at the Digital Technology Center in Sarasota, Florida. Now there's a lot of cool things going on. First of all, Monty is incredible. Second of all, the Digital Technology Center was really, really cool. So that's my to-do, is to go check it out. If you live in Florida, even if you don't live in Florida, my guess is there's somebody coming there that you want to see. So it's worth the trip. But it's digitaltechnologycenter.com, and center is spelled C-E-N-T-R-E. So
In other words,
Canadians
the
spell
correct
it.
way.
if it's digital,
Correct way.
if it's technology, or it has anything to do with the center, they've got classes on it. So go check out my buddy John there.
Yeah, boy. Okay, now, hey, he does have a great place. Matt and I were both there. And hey, and speaking of Monty, Monty was just a tremendous instructor.
Monty rocks.
He rocks. That guy is. What he knows about lighting is absolutely terrifying. No, it was an incredible day. It was a 2-day class. Matt and I only were able to attend for 1 day. But of course, we met a bunch of cool NAT members there. That was cool. And we had a great time. But besides that, and by the way, when you see Monty, Monty likes to pretend that he's not that good at Photoshop. He's really good at Photoshop. He likes to pretend that he's not. So you can really call him on that when you see him. Say, I know that you're faking. You're an ace. Okay, Monty has a tour coming out with Eddie Tapp. Eddie Tapp's being inducted into the Photoshop Hall of Fame this week. Eddie's a brilliant trainer. So you've got this brilliant Photoshop guy and a brilliant photographer. Eddie's a Canon Explorer of Light. Then you've got Monty, who is a brilliant Photoshop guy now and a Canon Explorer of Light. Put them together, and it spontaneously explodes into a tour called I have their website here, the Zucker Tap Tour. Go check them out. They're going around the country. The two of them are doing a tour together. I can tell you, I've learned from Eddie. Eddie's incredible. I just learned from Monty. He's incredible. It's got to be an incredible tour. Go check it out, zuckertaptour.com, and find out if they're coming to a city near you.
Very good. Well, I have one thing. I'm just to borrow this. Since you flashed it so quickly, no one could actually see it. This is our brand new Illustrator Techniques newsletter, and we're launching it officially this week at Photoshop World. So I'm going to give you a link to visit, but don't go today, because if you watch the show on Monday, it's too soon.
No, too soon.
It's only officially launching on Wednesday. So if you go to illustratortechniques.com, you can find out all about the newsletter and the accompanying website with all kinds of additional tutorials.
I would venture to say that nobody has seen that until right now.
I would say
you
that's
not?
quite likely, except we showed it last week. But other than
Did
that,
we show?
You weren't here last week.
Darn it, that
but
Steam
look,
conference.
wait, I'll do one thing they didn't see last week, the inside. Last time we just showed the cover, this time there's
that
actually
Steam
stuff
conference
inside
keeps me
too.
away
So
from
check it out, but wait till Wednesday.
Okay,
All right.
let's go.
Well, guys, that brings to close another tightly scripted, professional, and highly accurate episode of Adobe Photoshop TV. Would like to thank our sponsors. There'll be, of course, less next week. But would like to thank all of you. And I'd like to thank my cohorts, Mr. Dave Cross.
Until next time.
And rockin' the house key, Steam Boy, Matt Kloskowski.
See you next week.
And we'll see you right here on Adobe Photoshop TV live from Photoshop World. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching Adobe Photoshop TV. See you next week.